friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'd love if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. Don't forget to leave a like or a comment down below. It really does help my channel. Today's video is going to be part of a collaboration, and it is hosted by Tiffany from Small Town 6. I will leave a link in the description box down below to her channel, as well as a link to the playlist so you can go watch all the other lovely ladies and everything that they made. It's going to be all about cereal recipes, so recipes that involve cereal from savory to sweet, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of great ideas. Mine are going to be 2 sweets and 1 can be used as a breakfast bread, so let's just get started. The first recipe that I have for you is Fruity Pebbles breakfast bread. To start off, I'm taking my mixing bowl and I'm going to be combining 1 1/4 cup of sugar with a 1/2 cup of butter, but the recipe calls for vegetable oil. I typically sub out that amount for butter, so for me that's a stick of butter for 1/2 cup. And you're also going to add in 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in 3 eggs and about a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla is what the recipe calls for. I probably went a little over. I tend to go anywhere between a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon's worth of vanilla when I do baked goods like this. And then you're just going to go ahead and mix that all together until it's all nice and smooth. Now the recipe doesn't call to mix in the dry ingredients separately, but I like to always mix my dry ingredients separately so that it helps me avoid some clumps. So I'm adding to a bowl a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then I've just got my little sifter here, and I am going to sift in 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. If you don't have one of these sifters, what I tend to do is like spoon in the flour into my measuring cup. That kind of helps it not be too dense and packed too tight. And I could have sifted in the salt and the baking powder as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and give that a quick little stir to combine those dry ingredients. And then I'm going to take my mixer again and slowly add that dry mixture into the wet mixture until it's all nice and smooth. Y'all, I haven't had Fruity Pebbles in at least 10 years, and when I was trying these out of the box, they were so good. It was never really my type of cereal, but I guess when you haven't had it in that long, it's kind of good to have. And you'll need 2 cups of that cereal, and you're just going to go ahead and fold that into your batter that you've got going on there. Just go ahead and fold that in until it's nice and incorporated. Now you're just going to need a loaf pan that is greased up. I believe the recipe says to use like a non-stick cooking spray. I actually don't ever keep that in my house, so I just had to use some like butter. That's what I tend to typically do, like a butter or oil. And then just go ahead and pour that mixture in and make sure to even it out as best you can. And we're going to go ahead and bake this at 350 degrees for about 45 to 55 minutes depending on your oven. My oven tends to overcook things, so my center of my bread would be more doughy before like the outside of my bread being too brown. So for me in my oven, I know I have to kind of cover it with foil towards the end as to not darken the bread too much and still allow it to cook. And you're going to take a handful of those Fruity Pebbles and put them on top of the bread, and this is it out of the oven. It looks so pretty and colorful. This was actually a really delicious breakfast bread. It tastes very good. You could definitely have this for dessert, a little bit of Cool Whip on there, some butter. That's a great option. These Fruity Pebbles are not soggy, if you're wondering. They blend in very well, and there's even some crunch towards that top. Just overall a very delicious bread. This last sweet treat that I have for you here is a Marshmallow Krispies brownie bars. So the easiest part of this recipe is that you're using box brownie mix. And actually the recipe calls for Duncan Hines Chocolate Lovers Milk Chocolate Chunk brownie mix, which I didn't have, and I just had this fudgy brownie mix on hand. So I'm just using what I have, and to make up for it, I'm adding a little bit of extra things, and I'll make a note on that. Just going to go ahead and add in some chocolate chunks there to make up for the chocolate chunks that would have been in the other mix. And I'm also just adding the ingredients that the recipe, like the box recipe, actually calls for. So your eggs, and then instead of water I always use milk, instead of oil I always use butter, and I did add a tablespoon of cocoa powder to also give me that extra richness of the chocolate lovers. And now I'm just going to go ahead and mix that all together till it's nice and smooth. This part wasn't in the recipe either. I just love walnuts in my brownies, so I added in a half a cup of chopped walnuts, and I'm just mixing that into the brownie batter. Now I'm just quickly greasing up my 8x8 baking dish with a little bit of butter. You could use a nonstick cooking spray, and I'm just taking that brownie batter and I'm just going to go ahead and pour that in to the bottom of my baking dish and go ahead and smooth that out, get a nice even layer as best as I can. And you're just going to bake this according to your package directions. So whatever box you're using, just bake it according to those directions for your 8x8 baking dish. And once your brownies are done, you'll remove them from the oven, and while they're still hot, you're going to go ahead and pour on 2 cups of mini marshmallows on top of that, as best you can, all over the top evenly. And you're going to go ahead and put that back in the oven and bake it for 3 additional minutes. At this point I checked it and I was getting a little worried, but 3-4 minutes was actually perfect for it. And then I took a small saucepan, and in that saucepan I went ahead and added in 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and a half a cup of creamy peanut butter. And I'm just going to go ahead, this is on low heat by the way, and just continuously stir that until everything's nice and melted, nice and smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and take some Rice Krispie cereal, and I actually have these small little containers of the Rice Krispie cereal, so I ended up using 2, which was a little bit more than the 1 cup that the recipe called for, but I just didn't want to waste that last little bit. But yeah, just go ahead and mix that well until all that's incorporated together, and then you're going to go ahead and take this mixture and you're going to put it on top of your marshmallow layer. I just kind of did this in small dollops because of all the chunkiness that's going on there with those Rice Krispies. I didn't want it to like pull at the marshmallow underneath, so I kind of spread it the best I could, and then after doing that, it just pretty much fell right into place by just tapping it down. And this also was hot, so it, like, the marshmallows are between the hot brownie and then this hot mixture, so they really melted really nicely. And this was definitely really good, but very chocolatey. So if you're a chocolate lover, this is for you. If you're not as huge of a chocolate lover, I would cut back on some of this top layer. See, I really love the brownies with the marshmallow. It's just when you add that extra chocolate on top with the Krispies, I really like that crunch, but I would cut back maybe half that top mixture and it would be a perfect balance for me. There's those beautiful layers there for you though. And this recipe actually says to refrigerate it until chilled. Not really my thing. I wanted this nice and warm and gooey, and it did not disappoint like that at all. I hope y'all give these very yummy treats a try, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out Tiffany's channel and the playlist so you don't miss out on all those great recipes that everyone else has for you, and I hope you all have a great day.